Hi everyone, my name is Abhishek Jain, and in this video we just gonna see how we can use a faker library of a Python to create test data for the non-production environment, right? And I have published a video where it explained the basic setup and the basic functionality how faker help us to create test data, right? But as I promised in that video that I'm just going to take a real-time use case to just showcase how faker can be used to create the test data for the non-production environment. But in case if faker is not provide you the data the which is needed for your project, then how you can just create that and how you can integrate that into the faker library, right? So let's get into the action and see, how we can do that, right? So what I have taken for today's video is, let's assume that we have a stock table, right? And in this stock table, we need to have some pre-populated data so that we can just test our application, right? So I'm just keeping very simple. Let's assume that in a stock table, we have these 6 fields, right? That symbol, price, volume, price, high and low, right? So I think rather than this, it should be valuation, right? Okay. So let's assume we have these 6, right? How can we get this data? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create the Python file, and I'm just gonna show you quickly. What all information we can just directly get from the faker library, and whatever fields we cannot populate for this 6 field, we're gonna just create our own data, right? So before that, you have to install a faker library. So I just did that. Then what we have to do is we have to import that from an okay. So this looks good. And then what we have to do is we have to just create an object from faker, and then we can quickly check the functions which we have, right? You can also refer documentation of faker library, but you can just check that functions with, by calling so I just forward to bring them. Okay, so this is pretty easy. Okay, so now we can see, whether we have anything which we can use to just generate our symbol, right? So these are the functions which we have, right? So we have this ABA, so whatever I'm highlighting on my screen, right? So these are the, I don't think so we have something ready which we can use for the symbol, but what we can do is, I don't find anything, but I think we can do a quick thing here. Let's me just create a simple Python file, and we're gonna use some default libraries to generate a symbol here. So let me just see a stock dummy data, and let me just import 2 simple libraries. One is a string and another one is import random. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a class. Let's assume we're gonna call this class as stock dummy data. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna say we need stock symbol, right? How can we quickly do that, right? So we know, we have letters if we use a string, and inside the string we have this ASCII letters, right? But we need upper, because usually the stock symbol which we have in upper cases are 4 character letters, right? So what we can do here is we can say self.stock symbol equals to, we can use random choices, and then we can feed in this letters, and then we can say k equals to 4, because we need only 4 characters, right? So this is how you can get those 4 characters out of those letters, whatever the uppercase we have in our letters, right? And then what we can do is we can join them and we can get this right. So let me just return that rather than storing it. So variable. Okay, so this looks good. Let's quickly run this. And we have to do this stop. So first I have to create the object of this class underscore object, and then okay, so let's run this and see whether we are getting what we want. And then similarly, we can just create, other fields data, and then we're gonna integrate with the Faker library. I think that would be that way, you will be knowing probably how Faker library is actually generating the data, right? So let's run this. Okay, so let's print this out. Just print the data. Okay, so now we are getting this 4 letters, which we can use as a stock symbol, right? So this looks good, and the other fields which we want in stock data is price, volume, valuation. So we need price. So to get the price, what we can do is random. Inside the random, we have this uniform, and we can say that in uniform we need data from 100 to 2000. So and random uniform, and we don't need this, and we want to round off this data, so we're gonna round off to up to two place of decimal, so that's the reason we are rounding up. Okay, so stock price is done, stock symbol is done. So far we haven't used anything from the Faker, and next thing we want is volume, I guess, volume valuation. So let's put volume, and we don't need this line of code for stock price. And for volume also, what we have to do is gonna be an integer, so I'm gonna use the integer, and let's put it 10,000, 1 lakh to 20 lakhs. Okay, and we don't need this round off, so this looks good. Okay, the next thing which we want is valuation. Okay, so in valuation, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a price. Probably we can save that price into the self object, and then we can calculate the stock valuation, but I don't want a dependency on any other function. So let's create this price, this function. I know it's not gonna be give us the correct data, but we should be okay because we are just generating a test data, right? So in volume, we have to use this function. This looks good, right? So valuation is done, volume is done. Now we are left with the price. Okay, so what we can do is, so we know what we want. We want a stock high price. So what we're gonna do, so we're gonna return, but this time rather than having 100 to 1000, let's assume that we're gonna keep that high limit more than 1000 to 2000, right? So that way it will give us, some, up to some extent the data would look good. And for low price, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this range from 1 to 1000, just not 1 to 1000, just keep it 100. Okay, so low price is always going to be less than 1000, whereas high price is always going to be more than 1000, and it will be limited to the 2000, right? So we have 6 functions which we have created, and likewise what we can do, we can call them stock symbol, then the stock price, and stock volume, and valuation, and then high price and then low price. Okay, so this looks good, and if I run this time, let's see what we're gonna get. Now data looks good, right? Valuation, I think I just made a mistake somewhere. Okay, in this stock valuation, we have to just multiply the value which we are getting. That is gonna be price multiplied by volume. And if I do so, and if I run it, now this is giving a valuation which looks good, right? Okay, so up to this point, we are able to, without even using Faker library, we are able to get this, right? But let's assume that if we have company name, right? We want to have a company, right? Then we want to have a quick description about the company, right? Then again, we have to write few things, right? That is where Faker is going to be very helpful, right? So let's see, how Faker can help us in there, right? So if we have this Faker, what we can do, we can print the company name, right? And to do that, let's create a Faker object here. Fake equals to Faker, and then use fake dot. Okay, and then to just generate the description, this has text, and there we can say max underscore words, and we can say 100, right? Let's see what we're gonna get. Text card max NB words. Why? So rather than having this word, it actually has keywords, right? Characters, right? So let me just put this down. Okay, so now we got a company name and we got this, some small description, right? Apart from this text, we can use other thing also, and that's completely up to you. For example, you can use sentence. That also looks good. And then we have paragraph, right? So in sentence, you don't need to give anything. We have paragraph as well. You can limit, like, how many lines you want in those sentences and paragraph, but let's see, and that is completely up to you, what precisely you would like to have, right? So we have sentence, we have paragraph. I think in sentence we can have number of sentences. Let's put 5. Paragraph, I think I really need to look into the documentation, but let's see what happens if we have that. Got unexpected keywords, so I guess there I have to use sentences. I'm not sure, but I can look into the documentation. Yeah, so but the problem is we are getting in list, so we can join them if you want, but I will say keep it in this way only. And let's for description, right, for company description, let's stick to text stuff, right? And rather than using 100, let's use 1000 and see how the data looks, right? And then we can just see how, okay, this looks good, right? 1000 company, okay. So that's pretty much it. So now we have 8, and again, we can have company email as well, right? So let's add another field here. Okay, so we have description name, this company, and then let's add a company email as well. That also looks good. So I think we have another function called company email. We can use that from Faker library. See what happens. Okay, so now we got this. That looks good. So we have all the data which we want. And now let's assume that whatever the additional functions we have created in this class, how we can integrate that, right? So to integrate that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new and I'm gonna say a fake underscore stock underscore data, fake stock data, and I'm just gonna call import faker, okay, and as fake faker object. Okay, now what I have to do here is I have to just import the class which we have just created. Import stock dummy data. Now we have to just add this stock dummy data, and to add this to my fake, basically to integrate, I have to use a function called add y use. And here what I have to do is I have to feed in this. Okay, but before I do so, okay, this is the main, so we should be good. So here, that's it. And then what we can do is we can just copy this entire thing to make our life a little bit easier. And I can use a simple trick. Fake. Okay, this looks good. Word volume. I mean, after once we integrate this, right? I think then we can do whatever we want with this data. We can create a CSV, we can create a JSON dictionary, and we can save into the JSON file this data, you know, and then we can use it, right? So rather than, you know, doing all those stuff, we can do this print, and let's see what happens. So what I'm going to do is running fake stock data. Add providers and it will, I think let's quickly see what I think I just made a mistake. It should be add providers. Yes, I just forgot to do one thing. If I want to integrate this, then I have to from faker dot providers, I have to import a base provider, and then I have to extend that here to get integrated with the faker library. I think now we should be good. So let me do that. Okay, now we are getting that. That looks good, right? So now let's move this data. Let's see, I mean, how we can feed this data to the database, right? And so to do so, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create another Python, and we're gonna call it as SQL client. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, so let's quickly import SQLite 3, import SQLite 3 as a cell, and then create a connection. Okay, SL dot, and what we have to do is we have to use SL connect, and we have to give a database name. So we can say stock underscore data. Okay, this is gonna be my database name, so just call it as DB. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna create a cursor, and so to create a cursor, I'm gonna say conf dot cursor. Okay, and then first let's create a table. To create the table, let me so what I have to do is to create table, and put a name like stock daily data. And then what we can do, and let's say we want all things we want, right? So we want symbol, price, so we all this, right? So so we can say symbol text, then we want price, we can say real, then we have volume, we can say integer, and symbol we can make it key. Okay, this looks good. And then we can say price, volume, valuation, again real, and then we can say company text. Okay, and then we can say detail text, and the last one is company underscore email, and we can say text. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think we missed high and low price. So let's add high price column with real, lowercase, underscore price, real, right? So I think this looks pretty good. Okay, so once we have this, goes execute. Let's quickly create this, right? And let's say cursor. So what we have to do is we have to commit this, right? So let's do that as well. Commit, and so then we can say cursor close, and then we can close the connection. I mean, there are many ways we can use, context, but let's run this and have that table created. Python SQLite. Hopefully we haven't made any mistakes. So if this is working fine, let me just bring it and let me just open the database. That database should be in advanced fake data. So we have this stock daily. So we have this stock daily data. We have symbol, price, volume, valuation, high price, low price, company detail, company email, right? So this looks good. And then all we need to do is to put the data into this, right? So I can comment this out, and then I can say cursor dot execute, and then I can say insert into stock daily. I'm gonna use f string, but believe me, you should not be using a f string in real time because it's very vulnerable. And there are many more ways to do that string manipulation, but I won't recommend to do this, right? What I'm currently doing. Symbol, and then we have price, then we have volume, then we have valuation, then we have so if we gonna put underscore price, and company underscore detail, and then company details, and then last one is company underscore email. So let's bring it to the next, and here what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the data. We're gonna use ref string, right? So it is, and this one is not. So what we're we're gonna do is we're gonna copy paste this because volume integer real. Okay, so we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Last three should be text, so let me just copy this piece of code here. Cool. So this should be good. And what we're gonna do now, we need this info here. So we're gonna copy paste these two lines of code from here. I mean, there are many more ways through which you can achieve all these things, but let's do it here. And then it's completely up to your, coding style, that how you want to just do that coding, right? And then you have to just copy this and put it here, right? So all you need to do is, okay, so you want to do this one here, okay, then price here, then volume, price, volume, and then this is stock valuation. Okay, bring it down here. What's wrong here? F fake. Oh, this one. Okay. So stock volume. Don't want here the single quote. So you have to be just a little bit careful here, right? What I'm doing on, valuation, then, the high price and then the low price. We are almost there. Just bear with me. And then we have this fake company, which should be under which is tax. So we have to, cover with the single quotes, and then we have this. Okay. So I think we should be good. And whatever issue we're gonna get, we're gonna quickly fix them on the fly. Okay. So okay, this looks good, and then I'm gonna close it. This should be like this. This has to be single quotes. This should be closed, and this is okay. So why did I keep this F string? I don't know. Man, I'm making a lot of mistake today. We don't need F inside this. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so far this looks good. That's the reason. So this matches. This one matches with this one, and single quotes. Okay, so I think we can run this, and let's see what's gonna happen. We have to just remove these two line of codes, and let's run this, and if there is no issue, then we should have a data inside that. So we have a syntax error, right? So I was thinking this is gonna happen. So let's print this first. Insert query, create this, put it here, right, and print insert query, and then we can quickly fix this. What's the error? Okay, let's see. Wait. This doesn't print this print statement. So symbol F column. Yep. I just made a mistake here. This is one. values. Unexpected indentation. This looks good. Okay. This should also look good. So that's the problem. Using string. And I think we are almost there. So we fixed it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we got this insert statement where it says email values, blah blah blah. This looks good. Values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have this one, which is actually causing a problem, right? So you can see this, right? So let's assume where we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 after the sixth column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's 6. So we have to remove this one. And then we can quickly run this one more time. Now we have a problem here. So what it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so actually value syntax near company. Why? Oh, cool. So we don't need to use this anymore. So we have to feed in this one because I was still not fixing the portion we had it supposed to be fixed. So let's clean this up, run this, and let's see. So it looks good, no issue. Let's go to the database and see whether we have a data or not. So we got the data, right? USCG. So we have this USCG, right? So this looks good. So we are able to get one data in. So now what we can do, let's assume in range, and we want 1,000 records. Okay, so we're gonna run this and we're gonna do the commit and close at the end, right? So if I run this, and see, there are many more ways through which you can do this, right? And this doesn't look a very standard code. I was just giving you the sense that how you can just generate the data. So now we can create 1,000 records. If you want, we can create 10,000 records, right? So if I just go to the database browser and again try to browse the records, execute, okay, select count star from stock daily. Let's see. So we have 1,001 records, right? See how easy it is, right? We faced some issue, but we fixed all of them. And now it's completely up to your imagination what precisely you want to do. But the things you have to keep in mind is if you want to create your own custom data generator, which you want to use to generate your test data, and you want to integrate this to the faker, then you have to extend this base provider class, you know, and then wherever you want, you can just directly use that by adding that provider, right? So that is how you can do it, right? I mean, I have done on for the SQLite database, but you can just do for whatever the real-time database you're gonna use, like Postgres, Oracle, Sybase, Informix, DB2. I don't know which one you're gonna use, right? Similarly, I mean, you know, if you have a NoSQL database also, you can just generate your data, like your insert query, the way you want, right? And again, don't use fstring. You know, it's very risky because fstring means you are just executing the function. Then it's a very vulnerable thing. I did that so that I can just show you the concept, but don't try to use a fstring, you know, when you are creating any kind of query, right? So I think that's pretty much it, which I wanted to cover for this one. In the next video, I will just try to see, some more complicated and a complex scenario where we can use this faker library. We can create our own custom provider, and just let me know if you guys want me to just push all this code which I have which we have written in this session. If you want me to just put that into the GitHub, I can do that. Right. So thanks for watching this, and as always, stay healthy and keep learning new things. Thanks a lot.